Hey, Lab Coat Agents, welcome to the show. Today we've got Dave Culen, my co-host for the day, and our special guest, Barbara Betts. Welcome, Barbara. Nice to have you on.
Hey, everyone. So happy to be here.
Thanks for being on. And Dave, you know Barbara a lot better than I do. I met Barbara 3 minutes ago. So I'd love for you to introduce her because she's somebody that I know that you respect a lot, and she's done some pretty amazing things in real estate.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. And good morning. I have known Barbara for about 10 years.
Yep.
I spend time with thousands of agents over that period of time, and she's always stood out to me as someone who's has extremely high standards. She's a great leader. She does what she says she's going to do. And I really think she taught me how important the referral business is and just how amazing that side of the or that focus in the business can be. And then I watched her grow that and scale it. Now she owns her own brokerage. And then Barbara, I know you've taken on some recent political endeavors, which I'm not too sure on. So what are you doing as it relates to that? So I can add that to my notes. So the next time I introduce you, I'll be right on top.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you guys so much for having me on here today. So yes, I'm a broker owner, and about 11 years ago, I got really involved with our local association of realtors, Pacific West Association of Realtors. I quickly became actually local president. So I was local president of PWR in 2018. And then from there, over the past, 7 or 8 years, I've been super involved at the local, state, and national level. So I'm a California Association of Realtors Director. I'm a National Association of Realtors Director. And more importantly, my role at the California Realtors this year is I am the 2020 Risk Management and Issues Liability Chair for Transaction and Regulatory. That's a really big title, long title.
Wow.
But essentially my kind of nerdy passion, as you know very well, David, is ethics and rules and contracts. And so I've got that role at California to try to help make our realtors better.
Yeah, I was thinking about you yesterday. I was preparing for this interview, and I did forget to mention that in the intro. And you've always been one of the most ethical people I've ever met in this business and follow those rules to a T. And then I know you were on several boards that dealt with that in the local area.
Yes.
And so you've seen a lot in what goes on and so on and so forth. So congratulations and thanks for your high standards.
Of course.
All right, so Barbara, let's get right into it. So you've been in real estate for a little bit. You've done some pretty amazing things. That most of your business and your success revolves around you getting business from your sphere, your past clients. You build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do.
Yep.
Can you tell me, before we get into like the nitty gritty of how you do that, can you tell me what made you start your business like that or shift into it?
Yeah, so I started in real estate in 2003, and I started doing what most realtors, especially 17, 18 years ago, right? Every realtor, at least in Southern California, specifically in the Long Beach, Lakewood area, was told to go get a farm, right?
Yes.
So I was told to create a geographic farm, and I was told to go out and have flyers and information and essentially knock doors and ask people, have you thought about selling your home? And the honest truth is I tried that so many times. I stopped and I started so many times. I got so many doors slammed in my face, which I know y'all can relate to. And please, anyone who does geographic farming and is good at it, God bless you. You've got a skill that I do not have. And the honest truth is I got chased by a dog. It was a very small dog, but it was loud and it was ferocious. And if you know the Lakewood area, we have a lot of aluminum screen doors, and it was coming running for the door, and it hit that door, and I went running and it went running. I wish I'm grateful someone did not have a cell phone.
Yeah, built the relationship with that dog.
Right. So I got chased down the street. The gardener, thankfully, used a few tools he was using at the time to scare the little dog back to its home. I went back to my manager at the time and I said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to find a different way or I'm done. And I decided to start working a sphere. I decided to start working relationally. And I decided to go to the people who already knew me and liked me and apply a system to get them to trust me.
Then who did you approach first? Because as a new agent, you're shifting from your farm that everybody's telling you to do, which by the way, I did as well. I started door knocking and doing the farm. And I also got chased by dogs.
I'm sure. It's
crazy. What did you shift into when it came to referrals, more purposeful relationships here? Was it your sphere that you started with?
Yep. Yeah. So I tell all new agents and anyone who's listening, the way you start working relationally is you got to create your top 100. Start with 100 people. Now you're going to need more than 100, but I believe that too many people just teach realtors from this really broad brush perspective, and agents need step-by-step, right? They need what to do first, second, and third. So the first thing I tell all new agents and how I train all of my agents that come to me and work with me is you've got to get to 100. If you can't get to 100 people, then you don't know enough people. And I always say, start with the list of people that you would invite to your wedding, a baby shower, or I've even heard someone say recently, who would come to your funeral? Now I think that's a little dark and I don't think I really want to think about that, but that's the concept, right? Who already knows you and likes you, right? They already know who you are and they think you're a pretty cool person. And my philosophy is, if you take those 100 people, and then of course you're going to grow it, but if you take those 100 people and you apply a system to get them to trust you as a real estate professional, you will get business, because at the end of the day, people want to work with people that they know and like. It's human nature.
I agree. No, I agree. All right. So, and Dave, interject at any time you want.
So I've got 100 people, no love and trust.
No love and trust. Yeah. Well, they like you. I don't know if they love you, but they're not going to trust you right away.
Well, maybe then that goes to your next statement, which is now you apply a system to build the relationship. Yes. And so as opposed to just floating around like a bumblebee to a flower, you've been very purposeful. And so I'd be curious, how did that start off when you made that switch? And then how has it evolved? And then we'll talk about the future.
Yeah, so I would say starting out, now obviously starting out what I did 17 years ago is not necessarily what I would do today. So I try not to talk in the past of what I had to do 17 years ago. I mean, I had to create newsletters and I had to fold them in thirds and I had to put them in envelopes and put postage on them. You know, mass emailing was just becoming a thing, and there wasn't all these softwares like MailChimp and Constant Contact. There was not those systems back then. There certainly wasn't video. There certainly wasn't mass texting and being able to communicate via messaging. None of that existed. So I like to talk in what I would do in 2020 and what I teach my new agents to do. I still am a firm believer in the mail. And the reason I'm a firm believer in the mail is because they see you. And I love talking about a concept called propinquity. I know it's a really weird word, but Google it.
How do you spell that?
It's PROPINQUITY. So it's like equity, but with propin in front. So propinquity. Took me a long time to be able to say it.
Nice.
And the concept of propinquity, it's actually a law. And I stumbled across this in all of my research because, as you know, I like to do a lot of teaching and training. And so I kind of stumbled across this concept and I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is what we do. So the concept of propinquity says that the more a human sees you, the more likely they are to build a relationship with you through trust. And therefore, the more likely they are to have a deep relationship with you. And if they have a deep relationship with you, we can all agree that they will want to do business with you. But the first step, I think too many people talk about know, like, and trust. There's a lot of people who know me, but if they don't see me on a consistent basis, they won't remember that I'm in real estate. They won't think of me as top of mind, right? So that's why I'm a firm believer in mailing. Because mailing, I can 99.9% guarantee it's going to get into someone's home. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to look at it, and it doesn't mean they're going to take a lot of time or effort with it, but it's going to get into someone's home. So I still believe in mail, and I mail every single month to my entire database. No fail, month after month, for, we can arguably say, the last 15 years. Been in real estate 17, kind of started doing this about 2 years in. So 15 years, I have clients who have received a piece of mail from my husband and I 12 times a year for 15 years. Now we can argue it's very hard for someone to forget you if they're seeing you that often.
So two things on that. First, obviously you started small, because if you don't have a lot of business, you're going to go broke the first month.
Yeah.
Right, so start small. Good. That's why you start with 100 or less.
Or less.
And the next thing that I want to know is, what are you mailing to them? And And are you doing it monthly, quarterly? What does it look like?
Yeah, monthly to everybody. And what am I mailing to them? So I had to learn the hard way. They don't care what you're doing in real estate. Fun fact. The only person,
Fun fact, I love it.
The only person who cares about your new listing is the person selling it or the person looking to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying they're not interested in market updates and values and things like that, but that can't be only what you're talking about. And so what I had to do was create a system where I was sending out information to this network that was interesting information for them. So unfortunately, I decided after many years, I used systems, I bought marketing, I used different programs. And about 5 years ago, I transitioned to my own marketing, creating my own postcards every month. And yes, I know that sounds like a lot. And I know that sounds like a lot of effort, but there's this thing called Google. And there's this thing called Google where you can just Google what people are asking about, what people are looking for. You can Google other articles and blogs, and you can take that information and then regurgitate it into your own voice. So we talk about tips to improve your credit score. We might talk about tips to, remodel your home. We might talk about what are the trends in remodeling these days? What's going to really bring you value to your home? What should you be putting in your kitchen these days? Like, what are buyers actually spending money for in kitchens? We talk about things like simple holiday things like, we love our clients, with a bunch of pictures of our clients on the postcard and a message about how much we love you, how grateful we are for you, and how, we want introductions and connections to your family and friends. So kind of like a Valentine's Day thing. The ideas are endless, but it does take some time. It does take some thought, and it does take a system, but you have to make sure you're in front of them. And here's the deal. The reason I do postcards is because they don't have to open it. When they have to open it, they may not open it. And I don't know if you're really going to hand address 700 envelopes. I'm certainly not going to. So you're tempted to put labels on them. And when you put labels on them and you put a return address, it's very unpersonalized. What I love about postcards is whether they read it or not, they saw it. They flipped it over. Oh, this is cool. And it probably goes right into what we call, the round file, right? It probably goes right into the trash. But I know they saw me that month. And that's what's super important. They're always going to remember, oh, there's Barb and Harold again. Oh, there's Barb and Harold again. Oh, there's Barb and Harold again. And then every once in a while, I will get feedback from a great postcard. The best one I've done recently is I did one with a cat. I don't have it on this desk. It was a cat with these really big eyeballs, and his eyes were really big open. And the front of it said, "You can't smell cat pee online." And on the back, it talked about the importance of going and actually seeing a home, being with a realtor who can point out things about a home that you didn't necessarily see in the photos on the MLS. Cheesy, silly, but I got a ton of pictures back from my clients going, oh my goodness, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got the postcards.
Yep.
And you've told people to find 100 people that they know, or maybe kind of know them, right? At least you start with something.
Yep.
Once you have this list of 100 and you're going to mail to them, are there any other steps that you say, hey, these are the things you need to do because I've done them and they work? What are those?
So number one, I want everyone to remember, you have to think about this concept. You're not selling to these people. You're selling through them. So time and time again, I get realtors who tell me, well, I don't know 100 people that need to buy or sell. My friends can't afford to buy. My friends are, baby boomers. They're in their 60s. They're not moving. Stop thinking like that and think about you are selling through them. You are communicating your value to them so that they'll go tell their friends and family that need to buy or sell. So I just need to get that concept out of the way, because people are always like, well, what do I say to people when I reach out to them? Because the next step I'm going to tell everybody is you have to have outgoing communication. You cannot wait for this telephone to ring. It will not. You have to have outgoing communication. So every single month now, with 100 people, you can contact them once a month. I cannot contact my database once a month. I have too many people. So I have my database set up to consistently market to people or communicate with people on a system based on how high they are in my world, if that makes sense. How big of a fan are they of Harold and I? That's how often I communicate with them. So no matter what kind of system you set, you need outgoing communication, and outgoing communication goes something like this. Hey, Dave, I was in your neighborhood today. I was thinking about you guys. I miss you. How are you? ? Hit send. Now David's going to get that text message and go, oh my gosh, there's Barb, or there's Harold, or there's, Joe Schmo. And likely they're going to respond, and you're going to start a communication. You're going to start a dialogue. Next question I always get is, well, I'm sending out all these messages and I'm talking to all these people every month, but when they respond, they don't know what to say. Well, you have a conversation, number one. Number two, I believe realtors are taught to be too salesy in their ask for the question, right? They're taught to be like, have you thought about buying or selling a home? They're taught about, who do you know that needs to buy or sell right now? Mm-hmm. Well, I've learned to just put a different spin on that and communicate it more to the effect of, when someone says, I'm good, the kids are good, this is going on in our life, 90% of the time they're going to say, how are you? And when they say, how are you, they just gave you permission to talk about how you are. And how you are is not just your family, it's also your business. So my response typically is, I'm great. Kids are great. Family's great. Chris is great. Mandy's great. Whatever I'm going to talk about, whatever level I know them on. Every conversation is different. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to respond with something to the effect of, business is great, the market's great, 2020 is going to be a great year to buy and sell real estate. Hey, can you do me a favor? If you know anyone who's thinking about buying or selling in 2020, can you connect me to them? Done. Then I typically get a response back of, oh my gosh, oh yes, you're the only one I would ever think of. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, my coworker was talking about selling the other day. It could go a million different ways from there. But outgoing communication and creating a conversation on a monthly basis with multiple people is the number one key to working relationally, because relationships can't just be postcards.
All right. I like that. And then when you're systematizing it and deciding who your ABCs are, I don't know if you do the ABC thing or how you do it, but how do you determine who gets more touches versus not?
Yeah. So I do A plus A, B, and C. I actually have changed it recently to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just because when I teach realtors, I think realtors connect more with 5 stars, 4-star, 3-star, right? We are all doing reviews. We all know what that means. Yeah. So my 5-star clients are my raving advocates. They are my fan club. They're the people who, no matter what I post on social media, they'll share it. No matter when I call them, they'll pick up the phone. They're the people where when I get referred to their friends and family, it's almost like they did the contract for me and I just have to walk in and get it signed. Okay, I know who those people are. It's true. It's true. It's like they could just get, Dan, your assistant who was on with me probably when I was taking this phone call, just got a referral from someone today. He texted me and said, it's urgent. Can you call me? I'm like, okay, I got 8 minutes before I'm getting on this webinar. This is exactly how the conversation went. He goes, hey, one of my clients just called me, grandfather just passed, asking me a bunch of questions about the reverse mortgage. I told him, stop, you are to call no one else. You are to wait for Barbara to call you. Do not pick up the phone. Do not contact another realtor. I want you to wait for her phone call. You're gonna work with her and she's gonna take great care of you. That happens to me all the time. That is an A+ client. That is a 5-star client, right?
So these 5-star clients, how many do you have from your database that you routinely touch?
Great question. So we have about 750 people in our database, right? And people say, oh, that's a small number. You've been doing this 17 years. That's because these are relationships. These aren't farms. These aren't mailing lists. These are relationships. So out of those 750, I have probably about 72, I think last time I looked, that are truly A+ clients. Now you would think, that's such a small number. How do you sell so much real estate? Well, it's because they give us multiple referrals, right? And when people are giving you multiple referrals, you don't need a ton of them, to be quite honest with you. And when you are working relationally and these relationships are so deep, this guy is not going to call anyone else. That's right. Because the person that referred him to me is very close to this person. So that referral comes with like a +10 weight, right? That isn't a casual like, oh, hey, I met this woman at the grocery store last week. You should call them. So no, I don't have a ton of them. And my 5-star clients, I'm talking to probably 2 to 3 times a month in some way, shape, or form. Consistent contact. Then we go on to 4-star, which I know you're going to ask me next. 4-star are the people who, past clients, really good friends. Absolutely, I'm the only realtor in their book, but they're just not, I like to teach realtors that there are referring type people and there are non-referring type people. Okay. My A+, my 5-star clients, they're the type of people where, Tristan, if you say, hey, Dave, I'm going to San Diego, I want to go get some Mexican food. Where's the best Mexican in San Diego? And David doesn't just tell you where to go. He tells you what to order, who the manager is, and what's his favorite server, right? Like That's a referring type person. When you ask somebody, where should I go? And they're like, well, I don't go out very much. I don't know. I don't know. There's lots of good places. They're just not going to be a referring type person. So I do have a lot of those, but I know if someone knocks them on the head and asks about real estate, they're going to talk about us.
I remember talking about that 5 or 6 years ago with you, and we were talking about how to identify those people as opposed to let's try to change the people that aren't like that into people like that. And so
you can't.
And I think at that time we were talking about it as a social media question that was going to go out on Facebook, and then based on the response, the person that would answer the way you just described, that's an interesting one to now add. And I think that must be one of the things that was a focus, because I think at that point your A's, which you're now calling ones or fives?
Fives. Yeah.
It was probably in the neighborhood of 20 or 22 people, and now it's in the 70s, which is amazing growth and focus. So what are the other things that you're doing to go from 20 to 70? Because that's amazing. And then I'd love to know how many referrals you're getting. Yeah.
So I think the biggest shift in my business in the last 2 years has been social media, and an intense focus on building relationships online. But here's the key: you got to take them offline. So I'm a big proponent of you build them online, and that's how you meet people and you connect with people and you share information that people really want to hear about. But you got to learn how to take that relationship offline, meaning create an offline one-to-one personal conversation that isn't broadcast to everyone, right? That's super important. And using stories has been kind of my secret sauce. I'm learning that using Instagram and Facebook stories, your clients, and this is a message to all realtors, your clients are 100% interested in what's going on in your daily life. They're really interested in the behind the scenes of what you're doing. I tell realtors, document your day. Document your day. Tell them that you're going to meet the appraiser, and make sure you make a note that, hey, fun fact, friends, did you know that not all realtors meet the appraiser face to face? A lot of realtors let the appraiser go through the lockbox. Well, I believe that my job is to not only sell the home to the buyer, but my job is to resell the home to the appraiser the best I can, right? I'm going to point out all the values in your home. I'm going to point out that you remodeled your kitchen 2 years ago. I'm going to point out the things the appraiser can't see. So those are things that you can communicate through stories that you can't necessarily communicate on a day-to-day basis in your marketing. Today I went to Broker Preview to look at a home for a client that I know is on their hot sheet, and I went and previewed it for them, and the photos in the MLS, the guy did a really good job because the house doesn't look like photos, right? But I told my network that. So I'm creating these relationships, and I'm showing that I'm a busy, active realtor and I'm busy in the industry. And then what I'm doing is I'm getting a ton of responses. And by the amount of responses I'm getting and what they're saying, I'm identifying more 5-star clients. So I'm just putting more information out to give them an opportunity to respond, to show me that they actually really care and are interested in what we're doing.
I have a question with that. When you're building these relationships, I think as you're building them, you're identifying certain points that then you're going to say to yourself, hey, these are probably going to be 5-star clients. Do you have a set of those points, or is it kind of just as you go, you're getting a feel for them?
Yeah, it's totally organic and as we go. Now what isn't organic is when someone gives you a referral. Once someone gives you a referral and agrees to put their name to yours, you got to understand that that's what I call a transfer of trust, right? So Tristan, if you refer me, you're taking the trust you have in me and you're transferring that to me to be assured that I'm going to take great care of your best friend. And so that transfer of trust means a ton. And if I get a referral from anybody, I don't care if I had them lower in my database because I didn't think that they really cared that much about us. The second they take the time to refer us, up they go to a 4-star. They may not go to 5-star because they're not the crazy referring type person, but that 4-star. So how I do my system is 5-star is pretty much every 2 weeks. They're going to hear from me once or, not once or twice, 2 or 3 times a month. But my 4-star, they're going to hear from me every 30 days. Every 30 days, they're going to hear from me because they've referred us in the past, and they're likely going to do it again if I stay in touch and I stay top of mind. Because that's the key. That's what all you're trying to do. Clients are not laying at night thinking about if you have enough escrows. Okay. Last time I checked, my clients do not lay it up at night thinking about that. But what I want to happen is that the second real estate is mentioned or sniffed, that they think of us. And you only are going to achieve that by being top of mind.
With the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 stars that you do, you've got 5. So I'm taking notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Oh yeah.
5, you've got the 2 to 3 touches a month.
Yep.
You've got 4 where you touch them once a month.
Yeah.
Is that one time a month separate from the mailer? Because everybody gets the mailer, right?
Everybody gets the mailer. Everyone also gets an email that goes out 2 weeks after the mailer. And the email is a newsletter. Again, it's a little bit more real estate directed. Meaning it's got all of our active listings. It's got everything we've got under contract. It's got everything we've sold recently. It's got usually some kind of information that typically matches the postcard that just went out. And then at the top, the key is it's got a video. So that newsletter goes out every month with a video of my husband and I. This month, it was a 2020 market update. What's going on? What do we expect? It could be something that's going on nationally. It could be something that's going on locally. February could be just, we love you and we're grateful for you. It's short. It's no more than 3 minutes. And that goes out every single month, again, to create that. Because some people I don't have addresses for, right? I've got a lot of acquaintances and friends of friends or Facebook friends or old high school friends where they don't own a home and I can't realtor stalk them and find out where they live, right? So, but I have their email address, so I email to them. So you've got the postcard, you've got the email newsletter, but that contact I'm talking about, that every 30 day is that outgoing communication. And it doesn't have to be a phone call. It could be a text message. It could be a Facebook message. It could be an Instagram message. It could be a video. Sometimes I love my people so much. I film a video and I text it to them. I'm like, hey, I know you're teaching right now. Just want to let you know how much I love you. I'm thinking about you. I hope all is well. You know, let's catch up in February for a drink. And I send it to them and then they open it up and they see my face, but I didn't disrupt their day. Because I'm a huge believer. There's too many trainers out there who are saying call. Stop calling people.
Who's getting that touch there? Is it the 5s and the 4s?
It's whoever I feel like sending it to quite honestly. The 5s and 4s, yeah.
You're doing that yourself.
Lower level.
You're creating the content, you're shooting the video, and is that happening? I'm trying to visualize how to manage the time and what's going through your head. And I'm thinking about like a magazine or an editorial schedule. Are you sitting down once a month, and how frequent? Great
question. So I time block. If you know, Dave, some of the questions you sent me in advance, one of them was, where have you failed? You know, where have you messed up? And one of my biggest regrets in this business is not getting better about prioritizing my calendar sooner. I always said I did it, but I didn't really follow it, if you get my gist, right? I put it in my calendar. What'd you say?
Say that one more time.
So the number one thing I wish I would have done sooner is learn to prioritize my calendar. I don't like saying time blocking because I don't believe you can manage time. To me, it's all about priorities. And my priorities weren't my calendar, meaning lead generation, right?
Well, also what's interesting, just knowing you, is operating like that is one thing when you're at a certain size and involved in certain things, but you've taken on a lot more.
Yes.
And you're involved a lot more, and your business is growing a lot more. And so the time that you have must be compressed into some form like that, right?
Yeah, which is why
once you do it, now you realize that you bought so much time back, you can now scale.
Yes, which is why putting your priorities in your calendar, and let's just call it time blocking because it's what it is, even though I don't like that word, but it is. I make sure every single week 2 things are in my calendar. Because here's the deal. If you would have told me 17 years ago, if I would have met David Culen 17 years ago, and I know you would have told me this, Barb, your number one job as a realtor is lead generation. I may have never done this. That would have scared the living daylights out of me because I didn't want to be a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
But what I quickly learned is our number one job every day is lead generation. And it took me a long time to be married to that and make that a priority in my calendar. So now every single week, there is time blocked out for 2 very important things. 1, pipeline and follow-up. Every single Monday at 10 a.m., I go into my CRM and I work on my pipeline. I reach out to people that are active every single week. I reach out to people that are potential every couple of weeks. And I reach out to people that are long-term. They tell you next year, don't wait till next year to reach out to them because they're going to go to that open house and buy a house without you. The next year people I reach out to every 3 months. Very systematized. That pipeline is in my calendar every single week.
Those two things were the pipeline and
then the second thing is now I have a nickname for it because David knows this about me. I hate the phone. I hate phone calls. I don't know why. I can't stand them. Okay. So if I put make your calls or put lead generation calls in my calendar, I'm not going to do it. So I developed a little trick with myself, and in my calendar, it says MSD messages, and that's not a drug. It's an acronym for make someone's day.
Uh-huh.
So when I do my messages every week, they're trying to make someone's day. Because remember, you're not going to just go, hey, have you thought about buying or selling a home? Hey, do you know any neighbors who are looking to buy or sell? No, you're just going to say, hey, Dave, I miss you. How are you? Or just want to make sure you got that video I sent last week. It had some great information in it. Let me know if you have any questions. It could be, I just sent out your annual home update of the value of your home. We send out an annual beautiful package every year to everyone on their home anniversary. It might be a message saying, just want to make sure you received it. Let Harold and I know if you have any questions. It could be anything, but I'm just trying to make their day. And that is taken away from me. It's lead generation. Okay, let's just call it what it is. But I have to trick myself into thinking it's something else because I don't like lead generating.
So following up and lead generating.
That's it. That's what I put in my calendar. So David, when you ask like, when do you do these videos? When do you have time? Well, it's in my calendar, and here's the deal. The other thing I learned really hard way is you don't delete, you replace, or you move. So Monday at 10 a.m., if you guys asked me to do a webinar Monday at 10 a.m., am I going to tell you no? Absolutely not. I'm just going to move my pipeline to 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock, right? I was at NAR this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just got back last night. I do my lead generation and my make someone day messages. I do them all in a block. I do like 20 of them in 1 hour because I don't got time to spread them out all week long. I got too many things going on. So I do them all in an hour or two block on Tuesdays. Well, I was traveling on Tuesday. I was in Chicago. I'm not going to do my messages while I'm in Chicago, but what I used to do was I just didn't do anything about it. I just left it there. And then guess what? They never got done. And so I realized, okay, I can't do them on Tuesday this week. So I moved it to this afternoon. So this afternoon, I'm going to be doing those messages because I moved it from Tuesday. So don't delete your priorities, move them.
I love that. I love that. Dave, do you want to add anything? Because I have a couple of questions on the 5, 4, 3.
No, go ahead and ask.
All right, perfect.
What I'm observing is there's all these rules that we hear all of the time, and they don't necessarily mean anything. People would ask me a lot, like, I want to hook up with you and connect with you so you can motivate me. And I'm always thinking internally that motivation comes after you've seen and felt the result. Yes. And so you might get inspired briefly, and then that inspiration wears away.
Yeah.
And so as I'm listening to this evolution, I'm going to call it an evolution that you're going through, have gone through, and will continue to go through. These rules are true, so they're business laws.
Yep.
Call it whatever you want. I love the fact you changed the name. It reminded me of one of the things I heard from somebody really smart once. And they said, you know, you can read these books, the 7 habits, the 8 habits. It's quite frankly, there's about 17 of them if you do a lot of research. And the first one is the most important because I'll call it understand your own reality. And if you don't really nail that one, the other 16 will never matter anyway. And so once you figured out know thyself and understood your own reality, you've made these adjustments and you're crushing it. Yep. Great job. Awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So my question is along those lines, actually, first. And that's, you mentioned here, the one thing I regret not doing earlier is prioritizing my time.
Yep.
What shifted that? What shifted your mind into that? What made it more apparent, or what made you do that?
You know how they say, give a busy person, you know, the task and they'll get it done? That's what happened. I had far more responsibilities and things that I had to get done. And at the end of the day, no matter how many agents I have, no matter how much speaking and training I'm doing, no matter how much volunteering I'm doing, at the core of how I pay my bills is my husband and I selling real estate. Period, end of story. And I don't think that will ever change because I don't plan on being a mega broker. It may happen, but it's not what I foresee right now. And so I still have to help people buy and sell real estate every day for my primary source of income. But as I took on these other roles that frankly I love volunteering. I'm super passionate about our industry. I love teaching and training. It's one of my favorite things to do, but that doesn't pay the bills. But I want to do those things. And oh, by the way, I now have 10 agents that I'm responsible for. So I've got to be there for them too. I've got to have coaching time for them and training time for them. So because I got really busy, I had to get laser focused on my time. And so I learned the hard way by doing all the things I wanted to do, the teaching, the training, the speaking, going on webinars, doing all these fun things, but I was neglecting the lead generating. And when I was neglecting the lead generating, that affected my husband and I's production. And so I got busier. That's how I got more focused, was by getting busier. I don't recommend you wait until that happens to you, right? I wish I just would have figured out I guess I could phrase it this way. I wish I would have figured out the power of prioritizing your calendar sooner. Regardless if you have one transaction going on or 20 transactions going on or have no clients at all, I wish I would have understood the power of prioritizing sooner, because I think I could have kind of leapfrogged everything I'm doing, quicker.
That's Dave. Now I'm talking to Dave because what you just said is so true. I know Dave and I both have gone through this. The busier that we've gotten, like we take more of these opportunities that we get and we just go. We don't think, well, that may not work. The more we involve ourselves in this, the more we're forced to change and progress.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. You're just forcing yourself into a whole new level.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And then I see the power of it, and then I can connect it to my agents and I can help them prioritize their calendar, and I can kind of help them design the week I would have designed for me, right, 10 years ago, because that's where they're at. They're at where I was at 10 years ago. So I'm able to help them go, okay, guys, if this was 2011, this is what I would be doing in my calendar now. Don't waste away the days and years like I did, because quite frankly, I did a lot of wasting. People don't think that about me, right? And that's something that I'm not afraid to share and be transparent about, because people think my life has just been roses and that I've just sold all this real estate and I've never had a bad day. Well, come live in my home and speak to my husband. I've had bad days. And so much of that could have been avoided. Financial stresses, not being able to do the things I wanted to do. So much of that could have been avoided by being more laser focused on my calendar. So that's always my number one piece of advice to agents is you have to build relationships. I don't care if that's your primary source of business or not. You have to build relationships or you're gonna lose. And you have to be laser focused and have priorities on your calendar. And that could be your family too. So don't forget about them either. I talk about priorities and then I remind realtors, you've got a big priority and it's called your children and your spouse, and they've got to be on your calendar too. Sorry, that's a total digress into another conversation.
There's a lot of logical sense too, just looking at the time spent and the math, and there's statistics out there, and I haven't looked at them recently, but there's hundreds of calls that get made and conversations that get had between title, lending, escrow, the real estate agent, parties to the sale throughout the transaction. And then for all that relationship building to then stop all of a sudden at the end of the transaction doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And, back to the word busy, another thing, I've used it with you because it's something we can all agree on, but it's something else that I tell people all the time that I try to take out of their language is quit saying you're busy. Right? Quit telling your clients you're so busy, because all you're doing is communicating that you're too busy for them. I like to tell people when they tell me, oh my God, Barb, you're so busy. How do you get it all done? I always stop them and say, I'm not busy. I'm just super productive. And that changing that in my own mind has allowed me today, my day is back to back to back to back to back. I mean, I like to give clarity because people think, I don't have enough time in the day. Realtors tell me that I don't have enough time to make calls. Well, this morning at 7:30, I did a prep for a webinar tomorrow. I went and previewed a house. I'm on the call with you. I have a lunch after this. I will do my lead generation calls at 3 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock, I have another appointment in my office. That's a lot of things in one day and a whole task list of things that have to get done. The reason I can do all that, many people will say, oh, that's busy. No, it's productive. Because it's all scheduled in, it's all calendared in, it will all get done. And what doesn't get done on my task list, it's okay. It can go to tomorrow, because if it was a major priority for today, it would be on the calendar and it would get done. So I think if realtors shift from thinking that they're too busy to thinking about being productive, that busy word will go away and you'll stop thinking that way, because however you think is how you're going to act. Because in my opinion, busy people have their hair on fire. They're late to appointments, right? They miss appointments. They're stressed. That's busy.
It turns people off. That energy turns people off.
And it does. It does.
And what you're saying is that it's the building block and fundamental structure to then apply leverage. Because if you yourself haven't gone through this, felt the pain and the pleasure, and to be able to articulate it so you can get people to go from where they are now to where you are, it's super important. And then for you to be able to delegate and say yes to the new thing or the next thing, compressing your time further, you're gonna have to let something go.
Oh,
much easier to let it go when you're operating the way you're operating now.
Yes, because you know me well, and letting go is very hard for me.
Well, the best agents out there tend to want to have control. That's what made them great, and that's what continues to make them great. So it's common with top people. That's why you can relate.
Yeah.
I love that. So you've said some pretty amazing things here. We have a question here from the audience. How do you lead generate with a limited budget?
Well, that's the best part about working relationally is last time I checked, it doesn't cost anything to use this. My email system, although I use BombBomb, and the only reason I send out my emails via BombBomb is because I love the fact that when you tap the video, it plays right away and you don't lose them in that 3 to 5 second delay where YouTube has to load. That's just my personal opinion. But you can do video very cheaply through MailChimp and Constant Contact for free. You can load videos in there and you can do a newsletter. The postcards, that does cost some money. But I want you to think about it. If you're mailing 100 postcards, I can tell you your printing is probably about $9, maybe $10, $11. And your postage, 100 times 55 is $55. And if you can't invest $60 or $70 a month to contact your people, then I would argue that you're probably not going to be very successful in this business, right? So when I talk about postcards, people are like, that's so much money. That's why I like to clarify it, because it's not really a lot of money.
Guess what? 17 years ago, you couldn't drive Uber. Today, you can drive Uber to make that $90. So
exactly.
No excuses.
Yeah, I love you, David, because you're all about no excuses. I knew you'd help me out with that one. So email is free. Texting, phone calls, videos, and social media, guys, is free. Now, if you're doing it on a ad based, I can't help you with that because I don't generate business that way. Okay, 100% of my video and social is all organic. So that's all free. So if I had a limited budget and if I was starting out today, I would get myself a ring light like I have behind me, and I've got another one right here, right? I'd get myself a good ring light. I would get myself a good camera to attach to my computer, and I'd start doing some videos and start sending them out to your network, send them out to your database, because video and social is going to be the leapfrog, in my opinion, in 2020. Facebook has been screaming about it for years, telling us all that it was going to be a completely video-based platform in the next 5 years. They said that a couple years ago. We can all remember that, at least if you pay attention to the social platforms. It's really happening. It is almost all video. And your clients and your friends and your family and their friends and family and their clients are on social media. So social media is free. You can do email newsletters for free. Postcards might cost you a little bit of money, but not what you think. And texting and calling people is free. So in my opinion, if you have a limited budget, you work relationally. You can't afford to go get a farm if you have a limited budget. You can't. I mean, because you have to really, as we all know in 2020, if you want to start a farm, you better have a huge budget. If you want to do a bunch of ads, you've got to have a budget, right? That costs money to do Facebook ads and Instagram ads. If you want to, the other thing I would recommend if you're newer in the business and you don't have a big budget is open houses. There are still people going to open houses who don't have a realtor that you can build a relationship with. I would argue that it's not like it was when I built my career in 2005, 2006, 2007, right? Less people had it then. And then lastly, if you're on a budget, you can't afford internet leads. So don't even go there. And I don't know why you would want to go there anyways, but so working relationally is how you do it when you don't have a budget. Your problem is going to be, you've got to figure out how to go from 100 people and grow that quickly. And the only way that's going to happen is by consistently communicating to those 100 people and asking them who else they know that would like to get the same kind of information that you're providing. Your friends will tell you. Your friends will be like, oh my God, my sister needs to hear all this. Here's her email. Can you add her? That will happen if you ask. And then you grow that list. And as you grow that list, you'll start doing business, you'll get referrals, and you'll start this momentum that will allow you to stay really, really, really profitable.
I love that. So we've got 10 minutes left about. I wanted to finish up the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
5, you said 2 to 3 times a month that you're touching. 4, One a month.
Once a month.
What does 3 and 2 1 look like?
Threes every 60 days, 2s every 90 days, and 1s are bye-bye. So if you drop to a 1 in my world, you need to be deleted. So there really isn't a 1. So 5s are advocates, 4s are really strong connections. 3s are typically, you know, I always say 3s are my past clients who don't want a realtor as their best friend. So 3s are people that if I called them every month, they'd be like, oh my God, stop. Like, you're creepy. There's people out there who don't want to be your best friend. That's okay. But they're still going to buy and sell with me. And then 2s are, I don't have a ton of 2s, to be quite honest with you. 2s are this is where I confess, 2s are my past clients that I know still own their home. So I'm still going to mail to them. But I honestly might not recognize them if I saw them because they're literally 15 years ago. And I wasn't a master at building relationships like I am now, right? Mm-hmm. And they're people that I always tell people, these are the 2s. 2s are people that if you saw them in the grocery store, you run and hide. Okay, we all know we do that. You see someone in the grocery store and you go running, okay?
Tristan's making the note.
I'm telling you. Okay, my 5s and 4s, if I see them in the grocery store, I am like, I'm attacking them, right? But 2s are people that I don't know, you just don't want to talk to that often. And they probably don't want to hear from you that often, and that's okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, so we've got the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s. Yeah. I outlined that. So Dave, any other questions here as we're wrapping up, buddy?
I wanted to talk, we haven't talked about any kind of social interaction and client parties, and I know that goes on. And you know, what do those look like? How many are you doing these days? Who gets to come? How do you get on that invite list? It sounds like the 1s aren't coming to a party.
No, 1s aren't coming to a party. So yes, we do a ton of client parties, and I'll start out by saying, if you're new and this sounds completely foreign and like, how do I do this? And I don't understand how to do this and I don't have a budget to do this. I started out with happy hours. Okay, I started out with finding oh gosh, Dave, help me out. What was it called?
Sababa.
Thank you. You knew right where I was going. Baba used to offer, you could rent their patio and they would give you 1 drink ticket free to get your people to come. So that's what I did.
You know why I remembered it so well? And I when I introduced you, I said, you know, you taught me the referral relationship business. So on the brokerage, you know, I took a page out of Barb's book. I called that owner. Probably on your recommendation or one of our good friends. And basically the question was, hey, what's your slowest day of the week? It was a Tuesday. What's the slowest Tuesday of the month? He gave us the information, and then we worked out that deal, and that's exactly right. And so we had like 50 to 100 people coming, and he was buying all of them the first drink free and provided chips and salsa. So
that's exactly what I did. So start out with happy hours. That's how I started out. Now it has progressed and evolved, and I've done hundreds of client parties. What it's progressed to in 2020 is we do 3 major parties every year. We do one coming up in March where we close down a local restaurant and we have about 300 people come. In the summer, we always do, I highly recommend if you're in the local area, concerts in the parks are really simple. We've done ice cream socials, we've done pizza parties, things that cost on the average like $7 to $10 a person. It's really affordable. And then in the in the fall, we do what's called a gratitude gathering, which is simply, we have, you know, photos for their holiday cards and we give them a holiday pie. You've probably heard it as a pie party. I blew that out and I don't call it a pie party because that's, you go home with a pie, but it's really about being grateful and sharing gratitude. How you get to those parties depends on who you are in our world. So that March party is the elite of the elite. Those are the 5s and the 4s. The 3s and the 2s and the 1s don't get to come. They are the people who are consistently on our team. They're the advocates. They're the people that are referring us consistently or using us to buy and sell real estate consistently. And sometimes, guys, it's just a gut check. You know, I may meet a new client who hasn't really had a chance to show me who they are, but I'm like, they've got potential to be a referrer, and I'm going to add them to the list. Be smart about it, right? Don't make it this like pragmatic, you know, you're in or you're out. The summer party, everyone gets invited to. And what I love about that is, again, whether they respond to the invitation or not, they've gotten the invitation and they know they were included. And then the fall gratitude gathering is more the 5s, the 4s, and the 3s. So I'll add in more people, but that first party is, it's expensive. That first party is a lot per person. And so therefore you're the cream of the crop. You're the best of the best. And what's super important about these parties is You have to remember it's not about the event. I had to get over that. It's not about who shows up to the event. It's about all the activities you did to prep for the event. It's about the invitation they received, the phone call you're going to make to invite them or see if they're coming. It's the actual event where you're going to get up on stage with a microphone, hopefully, and let them know why they're there. Let them know you can't do this business without them. Let them know you continue to need their support. You have to ask. And then the follow-up of a text message or a handwritten note or something saying, thank you, so glad you could come, right? So there's 5 or 6 touches involved in one party, and that's why I do 3 of them a year. Don't get bent out of shape if you can't build up to that huge party right away. You're not going to be able to. I didn't either. I did bowling. I've done carnivals. I've done I've tagged on to other events. You know, Long Beach does a big flight day. I had a, tent there and told all my clients to come and get something from me. There's so many things you can do. You just have to think out of the box, but you need to build community. When you build community, people will see you building community with others and they'll want to be a part of it. And then of course, the way they become a part of it, I've had people say to me, how do I get invited to your parties? I've had acquaintances at the dance studio or baseball say, oh my God, how do I get invited to your parties? And I'm like, well, it's simple. I'm like, I typically will lead with, if you were looking to buy or sell a home, do you have a realtor you'd refer them to? And they're like, no, I don't know anybody. And I'm like, okay, great. Can I have your email, your contact information, add them to the client appreciation program? And then we go from there. They get invited to the party. We see where it goes. But I'm not going to invite them to the big party at the beginning of the year, right? They're going to get invited to the summertime one, which costs me $7 to $10 a person. I'm not going to just start inviting them to the one that costs me close to $100 a person. You get what I'm saying? Like, you got to be smart about your budget, and you can't reward people just because you like them. You have to reward people because it's a two-way street, right? They love you and you love them.
It looks like Tristan's taking notes, but he just texted me and said, how do I get invited to Barb's party?
Well, Tristan, I don't know where you live, but
that was good, Dave.
And you know what? If back to people asking about budget and everything that we've just talked about, if you know that having a client party is a good thing to do and you're not doing it, it's probably you're telling yourself something that's not true by saying, I can't do it and I don't have a budget.
Yeah.
You can do it. You're preventing yourself from doing it because you're fearful of something.
Exactly.
Because, right? So go out, watch someone like Barb do it. Go connect with someone like an owner of Sababa and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. The ideas are endless. You just have to sometimes get out of your own way. And I had to realize that too.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for being here. I got a few things from this. I love when you said you're not selling to them, you're selling through them. That was amazing, right, Dave?
Yep.
That was pretty solid. And then the other one we said, I'm not busy, I'm super productive. Yep. That was brilliant too. So some great information. I really appreciate.
Yeah, of course.
Dave, awesome on the connection, man. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, you guys are sweet. Thank you guys.
And then Barbara, where are you located so that the people that are listening to, if they have any referrals, they can send them?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. So we are in Long Beach, California, which I like to say is sandwiched right in between LAX and Disneyland. So we go south into Orange County. We go up to about LAX. Any realtor in Orange County who tells you they go to the Valley, don't listen to them.
That's far.
They're not going to be able to service your clients very well. So I like to be really honest. And you can find me on all the social media platforms, super active on Instagram. So if you want to kind of see how I'm communicating and what I do and how I'm kind of sending these messages out, non-salesy, go ahead and follow me over there. I'd love to, build a relationship with you. And David knows this. I'm an open book. Message me, ask me questions. There isn't much that I'm afraid to share, because here's the deal, guys. When you work relationally, you're not afraid to share, because my relationships are my relationships and they're not your relationships. So my people aren't going to work with you. They're going to work with me. So I'm not afraid to share how I'm doing it, because you all have your own relationships and there's plenty of people to go around.
I love that.
Top
Dave?
talent is always willing to share.
Yeah.
That's very true. Well, thanks again, Barbara. Appreciate it. And thanks for co-hosting with me, Dave.
Thank you
Thanks,
both.
guys.
Both
All right.
awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have an awesome day.
You too.